Good day, viewers, and welcome to another on-site SA soccer show. Paul is away watching his beloved Tottenham Hotspurs, and we'll be joined shortly by our UK correspondent, Stevie Braham. But joining me in the studio this morning is our regular super sub and Manning Rangers League winner, Gavin Radford. Gav?
Morning, Budge. Good to be here again.
Okay.
Champions League taking up all our time again, so good football.
Okay. Man United?
Well, big one tonight, Budge. No strikers, but a little bit worried.
Okay.
But I think at home we should get a result.
Well, let's hope so. We kick off as always with our post-net last one standing competition. And heading into round 4, we had 112 entries. 100 were successful. 42 were on Aston Villa, 32 on Man City, 19 on Man United, 5 on Newcastle and 2 on Tottenham. The unfortunate 12 souls were 7 on Leicester, 2 on Chelsea, 2 on Fulham and 1 on Liverpool. Our ladies who survived, of which we have 8 of them, are Yvonne Borenser, Janice Lafferty, Sue Miller, Montana Verners, Tracy Nell, Holly Lafferty, Julie Usher and Tennille Verners. Our internationals still going strong. Francois Dumi and Tony Cass in Mauritius, Greg Bartnos in Almere in the Netherlands, Andrew Rydell and Kevin Faree in the US of A, and 2 UK guys, namely Kevin Power and unbelievably Mark Aboud from the UK, still in the competition. Our picks of the previous round, there were 2 of them. 2 guys were on Tottenham, Paulo Di Carmo and Hassan Maul. Newcastle United had 5 entries, namely Tony Cass, Patrice Masson, Sarwar Khan, Hassan Maul and Dave Goss. I always like to give a special mention to guys who've got this far and who haven't had a mention in the previous couple of shows, being Salwan Alk, Robbie Burns, Ajit Singh, Phil Weston, Dave Harker, Alan Costa, Calvin Bonza, Keith Story, Jay Naidu, and Bafana captain and legend, Neil Tovey. I always get asked, please, who was the Toad favourite? And I've been instructed by several guys, please, do not mention me, because it is the kiss of death. We have 18 guys with multiple entries, and if I have to name one with the best picks to go, I'm going to have to go with Dave Goss. Dave, please don't get the needle to me. Saturday, 1 o'clock is our first game, so guys, 12:30 is closing time, so please get studying. We now cross over to Stevie B in our Fulham studio. Good morning, Steve.
Morning, Steve.
Hi, Budge. Morning. And Gav. Morning to you both.
Steve, I was sent a photo from LAF last night, which we're going to display on the screen. 2 questions. 1, why was the Alsatian trying to do a runner? You'll see the tail in the bottom right. I thought he would have been proud and maybe put him on the chair. And 2 was that, whose bag is that on the chair?
Yeah, that definitely wasn't mine. It could have been Laf's, but I think it might have been Janice's potentially.
Okay.
So.
It wasn't the cooler box, yeah, with a couple of samples of...
No, that was bigger.
Okay, and as Mark Aboud always says, a real man wears pink, and obviously he's got, I don't know if it's a pink or a faded Liverpool top he's got on. But...
I think the way that they've been going, I think that he's put his Liverpool shirt away for the season.
I think it's the only time Laf can wear a Spurs shirt without getting mocked.
Yeah, just hope maybe Laf had VAR there, so he would have got another decision in his way. Anyway, Steve, Champions League, Tuesday, Wednesday, some cracker games. Yeah. Man City 3-0, that should be good enough, surely?
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, the second half particularly, they were really wobbling Munich, and they could have had another 1 or 2 City. It was. Look, Bayern are a great side, and they caused City some problems, but they defended so well.
Yeah.
And looked so dangerous in the second half going forward. It was a big win. It's the first time they've lost by more than 1 goal this season, and only the second time they failed to score. Munich. It's the biggest defeat in the Champions League for 6 years. I think that you'd expect City to go there and wrap it up.
It looked like they were just out of legs the last 15 minutes, Bayern Munich.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's you know, I mean, they got a good side, and they sort of brought on, you know, they brought on players like sort of Mane at the end, who didn't really do that much, but City just were exceptional. I thought that was one of their best performances I've seen for a long time.
Yeah, I thought they were really good at the back. I know the full backs, he's changed it, dropping stores, throwing stones into the middle of the park, which I think will be a problem against Real Madrid, especially with Vinny Jr. out there. But they really look slick, and to me, Steve, it shows the strength of the Premier League, because Bayern Munich don't play many decent teams. Dortmund are the closest rival. They beat them 4 or 5-0 a couple of weeks ago. And you can just see it. The fitness levels of the English clubs are way ahead, and there's no doubt. I think City, they're 14-10 to win the second leg. I think they'll go there and give them another lesson. And if you haven't got a centre forward, I know Pep has proven to Pep the last couple of seasons he's played with a false 9, De Bruyne. And Bayern Munich haven't got a centre forward. I know Choupo-Moting was injured. But if you haven't got a centre forward, you're not beating Man City.
Yeah, I mean, losing, I mean, obviously with Lewandowski going, I mean, he was, you know, instrumental in their success, you know, in the Bundesliga in the last few seasons, and they've certainly missed his goals. I mean, you know, as you say, I mean, they're winning some of their matches quite easily, so they're all scoring goals, but they didn't have anybody of the right quality that was going to hurt City's defence on Tuesday night.
Yeah, City looked really, really slick, and my 14-1 them to win the treble is shortening by the day, Steve, even though I hope they don't win a trophy. I think they'll go close. You know, once it went to 2-0, I turned over to watch Inter Milan. I saw the first goal. You know, Benfica looked like several teams that work hard to get in the Champions League, and the moment they come up against a well-organised team, they seem to struggle. I know they had chances, Steve, but, you know, Inter Milan are a slick and well-organised team, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, they'll wrap this tie up at home. I mean, they're not going to lose by 2 or more at home. Yeah. I mean, they'll do what it takes, and they did. You know, that was a big result for them. I thought it would be closer than it was, but ultimately that was a big result. And we're going to see, you know, now I'm fairly certain. I should think we're going to see an Italian side in the final.
Yeah, no doubt. Steve, Real Madrid 2, Chelsea 0. Fair result.
Yes, yeah, it wasn't. Real probably weren't at their slickest.
Yeah.
You know, and obviously once Chilwell was sent off, it was game over. And I thought that they were in danger at one point of shipping more than 2. But I guess, you know, on the balance of things, 2 wasn't the worst result. If they'd have kept it to 1, I think that would have been close. But, you know, Chelsea are going to have to do something exceptional to get back into this tie.
Gav, if you were the left back with Chilwell, would you let him try and score, or would you have done what he did?
Yeah, I think it was quite a lot of time. There was quite a lot of, sorry, Steve, there was quite a lot of time still left in the game.
And he would have scored, but if not, you know, it's a price of, you know, again, saying the heat of the moment, he knew what he was doing. It was outside the area, so he took a chance.
Yeah, Gav?
Yeah, sometimes I think, Budge, with the amount of time still left in the game, maybe you could just try his utmost to try and get a little bit of a bump onto him, or try and put some type of pressure, and then allow the keeper to make a save. You know, if he sticks it away from an acute angle, then it's a good goal. Yeah. But there's so many things and factors. His balance can go off and he can scuff it. But yeah, it's a tough one for a defender. You know, you're going to make a split decision. He thought, well, goal or free kick outside the box, and he took a chance, and unfortunately he goes. Yeah, but I think Chelsea, if they'd lost 1-0, I think they were still back in it. But but Chelsea can't score goals. They're battling to score goals.
Yeah, I just watched them. They look a desperate team, and you know, Lampard's gone in. It's just, I don't know, can't have it. Tactically, you know, he's in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't have gone back if I was him. But obviously his heart's in the club and he's trying to help. But I wouldn't like to be in that change room. And AC Milan won, Napoli won. I only watched the highlights this morning. Yeah, Napoli can play, but you know, similar to Benfica, they've had a great season. The games are getting tight now. And the left back could have got sent off. And I know the midfield player did get sent off. You know, the occasion seems to be getting to some of these teams. So, AC Milan or Napoli, Steve? You still give Napoli a squeak?
Yes.
Yeah, look, I mean, they were without Osimhen, you know, which is a big miss for them, and obviously Anguissa got sent off.
Yeah.
You know, but as you say, Napoli have had a little bit of a wobble. I mean, they're obviously clear at the top of Serie A and going to win it, but they've had a bit of a wobble.
Yeah.
And look, AC Milan, that was a big result for them. But I mean, Napoli has still got to be in it. If they get Osimhen back, then I think it should make a difference to them. But you know, they're going to be without a couple of players next week. Obviously, Anguissa's out, and they had another one on.
And the left back,
So it's going to be tight. And again, you know, as I say, they've beaten Milan in the Serie A, but I think, you know, this is a different sort of game, and we could end up with a very interesting sort of Milan derby in the semi-finals.
Yeah. Steve, on to tonight, big game for Man United. Rashford's out for several weeks. You know, we'd expect, you'd think Martial will start up front, wouldn't he?
You would think so, and you know, I think Ten Hag is probably a little bit fortunate that Martial is back from injury. Look, he admitted himself he was thinking of taking Rashford off as soon as they went 2-0 up. They kept him on just a little bit too late, and he sort of, you know, pulled up with that injury. And I think it will be a big loss because you know he really has been the talisman in recent months. But this is, I think, United is definitely going to start as favourites. Sevilla are having probably one of their worst seasons in many years. Yeah. I mean, they're in the bottom half of La Liga. Little chance of qualifying for Europe. So, you know, I think United should be favourites to take a lead of at least one with them over to Spain.
Gav, you taking the 4-10?
No, but I won't be taking 4-10. No strikers. United should win. They've got the pedigree, they've got the home ground, they've got the fans, they've got everything in their favour. It's just that factor that Rashford's got the 28 goals and the goals haven't been spread around the team. So that worries me a little bit. Yeah. But like Steve says, Sevilla have been struggling themselves. They've been battling. Yeah. But they are one of those teams that do well in this competition. So you always have to be wary of them.
Yeah, I watched them on Friday night. I think it was they played. I think they played Celta Vigo and they had a player sent off in the first half. They fought hard. They were 2-0 up, but conceded 2 goals in the last 5 minutes to draw. But they can play. They've got good midfield players. But on a line through Real Betis, who United knocked out last round, United should, they've got to take a result to Seville. Otherwise, it won't be easy there. And West Ham, Steve, travelling to Belgium to play Ghent.
Yeah, I mean, they should be favourites. Much stronger side, stronger squad. Yeah. They defended very well at Fulham at the weekend. Not too much attacking threat for most of the game, but made them sort of hard to break down. They've won every game in the competition, and I'd be very surprised if they don't go there. Yeah. I think it'll put out a strongish side. They've got a decent squad, West Ham. Yeah. So I think they'll go there and get a result. Yeah,
definitely go there. Avoid defeat, and I think that's the only way they're going to get back into Europe is winning the Europa Conference League, and I think they've only got Fiorentina to beat, so you'd fancy them to get a result there. On to the weekend, where the Premiership's getting tighter at the top, and obviously at the bottom there's a lot to play for. Steve, we kick off Saturday lunchtime, Aston Villa, Newcastle. How do you see it?
Yeah, it should be a really good game. I mean, Villa are really playing well under Unai Emery, and I think that they're going to make it difficult for Newcastle, who themselves are doing well. You know, it was a good result last weekend coming back from a goal down at Brentford, but I think Villa are going to be hard to beat at home. I can see them at least holding them.
Gav?
Yeah, I think Newcastle is in such a rich vein of form. A goal down last week, turned it around, came back to win the game. Playing exceptionally good soccer at the moment. It was hard to go past them. But Villa, you know, they must have surprised. And, you know, Emery's done an excellent job there with them. It's a tough game to call, but on the pedigree, I wouldn't go Newcastle. Yeah,
I watched Newcastle last week against Brentford. They should have been 3-0 down at half-time. It was one-way traffic, and guy missed a penalty, scored the second one, and the offside goal was tight. If they give the chances to Aston Villa, they're going to be in trouble here. I know going forward, Newcastle have got a lot, but at the back, Steve, it's just... I'm not 100% happy. I took Aston Villa to score over 1.5 goals at 19-10. I think this game, even though it's a lunchtime kickoff, there's going to be goals in this. Both teams to score over 2.5 goals. I think that's a gift. Both teams have got to go for it. And Villa have won 6 out of 7. So I think this is a humdinger to kick the Saturday off. Now, my best each way bet of the weekend is the Chelsea-Brighton game. Steve, having watched Chelsea, I cannot have them. We both fell for them last week. They never played Kante. I can't believe I never thought that they would rest him for the Champions League. They haven't scored in 4 games. Brighton were robbed last week against Spurs. I'm all over Brighton. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, I think Brighton obviously are smarting from the VAR decisions that went against them last weekend that were probably good for a point. Chelsea, as you say, haven't scored in 4. You know, they've had a tough game last night. He'll probably have to rotate a little bit. I mean, he started with 2 5 foot and a bit players up front. He'll probably start with Havertz, but he's missing a forward, and Brighton have got a very strong defence. I can see, unless Chelsea really raise their game, I can see Brighton coming away with something there.
Gav?
Yeah, 100% agree. I think the draw looks like the obvious bet. You one team that can't score, and the other team that's in a bit of a rich vein of form in Brighton. So for me, they cancel each other out, and it's probably end in a draw this game.
Yeah, I'm all over Brighton. I like what I see. They were stiff last week, and also Chelsea. I know they're at Stamford Bridge, and they're hard to beat there, but I can't have them. Steve, you've got the floor. Your Fulham boys going to Everton. Can your form improve?
I would be very surprised. We have a shocking record there. We won the only time we've ever won in the league was last time out during the pandemic without a crowd. But otherwise, we never do well against them. They're the sort of team. They're in your face, and I think that we've just sort of lost with everything that's gone on with the Mitrovic saga. It definitely seems to have affected us. Yeah. We just look a little bit toothless at the moment, and I would be very surprised if it's anything other than a home win.
Gav?
Sure, Everton last week, they should have been 5 down against United in the first half, so that defence is not the best defence around. But Fulham, one of those teams that surprised you. I mean, they can raise their game. I haven't been a big Fulham fan, sorry Steve, for the year, but but they get the results. Play the ball around. Everton, I think without the goalkeeper, they would be probably relegated already.
Yeah.
But a tough game. Everton have to win, so probably fine. Everton will try and step it up a little bit this week.
Yeah, I just think if it was at the Cottage, I'd say Fulham have got a chance. But the desperation from those Scousers will shift it in Everton's favour. I agree with you, Steve. I'm all over Everton. I really fancy them. I know against Man United they were woeful. But the week before when they played at home, that Goodison, I've been there, it's a tight pitch. And we know it's a desperation game for them. And I'm with you. I've got to go with Everton as much as I know your heart's with Fulham. The next game we got Southampton, Crystal Palace. Big game at the bottom, Steve. Well, it is for Southampton anyway.
Well, very much so. I'm sort of fearing that Southampton could start to fall away. I mean, they're only sort of 4 points behind, but they're finding it hard to win games. Palace, I was very impressed with their second half performance at Leeds. They looked superb. I mean, on the break, they were cutting through them. And I sort of fear for Southampton that Palace could do that again. Always seems to have got them playing with a bit more confidence in the last couple of games. And I think Palace could go there, get a result. And I think that with 1 or 2 fixtures Southampton has still got coming up, I think that could see them definitely finishing the bottom 3.
Gav?
Yeah, I think Palace, it's amazing what a manager can do for a team.
Yeah.
They just seem to play for him. Stepped onto the plate, won the first one, gets out there, wins the second one, and some style too at 5-1. I think Palace is the best value bet of the weekend at 17-10. I think they got this game, if they continue that form the last 2 weeks, they should have the beating of Southampton. Yeah.
Only thing about Palace is the first half they were woeful. And one thing about Southampton, I know they got beat by Man City well in the end, Steve, but that first half they played well against Man City, and they know this is last chance saloon. Palace are one of those teams that do give you a chance, and maybe overconfidence will set in, and if Southampton can get an early goal or two, this could go either way. I'm not just sold as Crystal Palace on you. I know Roy Hodgson's done a good job. They were all over Leicester. I think 20 shots in the first half. The second half, they were really impressive. But Leeds gave them a couple of goals, Steve. So a youthful Southampton. This could go either way, in my opinion. I know everybody's on the Crystal Palace bandwagon, and I don't blame you. But, Southampton, they have a result in them, and I just wonder if this is it. Tottenham, who must have been thanking their lucky stars last weekend, very fortunate. There were 3 decisions that went for them. The penalty against the VAR, Steve, that guy should have got time for not seeing that. That's as bad as I've seen. But Bournemouth, we both, Gavin and I both fancied Leicester last week. They cost us a nice bet in the goals. Bournemouth deserve to beat Leicester. Can they give Spurs an uphill game here?
Well, I think, look, they've won 3 of 4, and you know, before that, everybody was writing them off to finish bottom, and they've sort of hauled themselves up a bit. Look, you know, Tottenham are favourites, and it's a game they have to win. You know, with to show how close it is fighting for that top 4 spot. This is a game Tottenham can't afford to lose, but I think Bournemouth are going to make it hard for them. I think Tottenham will win, but I think it's going to be a bit tighter than the betting shows.
Gav?
Yeah, I agree with Steve. The Spurs have to win this game to stay in contention. If they just let it slip, then I think their season is done. As long as they can keep challenging and putting themselves thereabouts for the 4th place, they've got to win games like this. But like Steve says, Bournemouth will definitely be on top of them, and they make them play, can make them work hard for a win. Yeah. So I can't see Spurs losing at home.
Yeah, I think the difference with Spurs is give Harry Kane or Son a glimmer of a hope or glimmer of chance, and Spurs will score. I like Spurs to score over 1.5 goals at 6-10. That's my play in this game. But you know, sometimes you need a little bit of luck in your season, and it went for Spurs last week, and I expect them to continue against Bournemouth. On to the second page, we've got Wolves versus Brentford. Steve, this is going to be a physical battle. If ever you want a game with bookings, this is a game for me. But how do you see the result going?
Yeah, I mean, Wolves got a great result last weekend. Yeah. I mean, we both fancied Chelsea, you know, maybe to have the sort of the Lampard effect, but Wolves played very well, and I think they'll start as favourites again. I mean, obviously Brentford have got Tony, and you know, they've had a couple of hiccups recently, but I think Wolves, you know, on the back of winning last weekend, I think they'll do it again, and they're pulling themselves out of that relegation scrap. And I think they'll start just as favourites.
Fancy them, Gav?
Yeah, tough game to call. Yeah, Wolves exceptionally well last week, but again, we're talking about Chelsea who can't score goals. Yeah, and it was always going to be 1 goal in the game. Brentford missing a penalty, coming back into the game. Tony, you know, he gets himself about. He's a big boy. So Wolves have to be very wary of him. I'm leaning towards the draw in this game.
Yeah, I think so too. I think there'll be goals in this, Steve. I know it'll be tight early on, so the guys that like backing a half-time draw at 12-10, I wouldn't put you off that. But I like this just under 12-10, over 2.5 goals. One thing about Brentford, they don't try and mess around. They're very direct. You say Tony and the guys up front, they do have a go. And one thing about Wolves, they can score goals too. So of the 2 teams, I agree with Gavin. I think the draw's a player. You know, it's just hard to side. Brentford against Man United, they were woeful. In the first half against Newcastle, they should have been 3-0 up. But once it went 1-1, they were nowhere, Brentford. And maybe the sting has come out of the tail. But this could go either way, in my opinion. And the draw looks the right player. Steve, 1-6 Man City. Good things?
Well, you would expect so. You know, it's very difficult to back against them at home. Yeah. I think 20 goals they've scored in the last 4 home games, League and Cup. He'll probably rotate a little bit because obviously he's got a huge game next Wednesday back in Munich. But I think whatever team he puts out should be more than strong enough to dispatch Leicester. It's a bit of a free hit for Leicester because I don't think anyone expects him to do anything. So they might as well have a bit of a go. You know, they've got bigger games coming up for them, but they're in trouble. You know, they could find themselves a few points adrift if results go against them. Yeah. But I think City should be too strong. Can
Leicester score? Steve?
Well, they can. They're capable. You know, if Maddison, you know, gets a sighter, they can. But you know, goals have been their problem, which has been a bit of a surprise because they've been a bit of a free scoring side in seasons gone by. Harvey Barnes is out. You know, that's going to be a big miss for them because you know, really good young player. But you know, and whether Tielemans is going to be fit, but you know, Maddison has been a key for them, and he's you know, he's struggling in that team. Or he is in with the struggling team. I think Leicester will lose this, and I'd be surprised if they don't do it by more than 2 or 3.
Gav?
I think in the back of Leicester's minds, they're really thinking if we can keep the score down, it'll be okay. But I'm thinking Guardiola is going to make at least 3 to 4 subs in this game, resting some of his big names. And if anything does go wrong, he'll bring them back on second half. But there's no ways for Leicester to win this game. You can't go to Etihad and try and win when you haven't won yourself in 7 or 8 games. So the confidence must be super low. They picked up injuries at the wrong time, Leicester, this year. I'm sad for them because winning the league a couple of years ago,
2016.
The future was bright for them, and they just tapered away and sold some of their better players. So there's no way back for them. I think Man City win this comfortably.
Yeah, I think City cruising 22-10, over 2.5 goals, and both teams to score no. So Man City 3-0, 4-0. That's my particular play in that game. On to the next game, West Ham, Arsenal, Steve. Arsenal, good things.
Well, look, they have to win. I mean, they having dropped points at Anfield last weekend, but it's sort of could potentially back in City's hands.
Yeah.
If City win that game in hand and win the big game, they go above Arsenal on goal difference. So this is the game that Arsenal cannot afford to slip up. And I think they should go there and get a result. West Ham are playing in Europe. He will rotate a bit, David Moyes, and they can't afford to lose. But neither can Arsenal. Arsenal have got to go for this. Anything other than a win, I think, with City favourites to win beforehand, they're going to feel Pep breathing down their neck if they don't.
Yeah, Gav, good things, Arsenal?
Good things, Arsenal, this weekend. I think Arsenal 6-10, far too strong for West Ham. West Ham playing Thursday night.
Yeah.
Got to travel, then come back home again. Arsenal lying in wait, and a nice big pitch they're going to play on Sunday. It'll suit Arsenal for the width of the game. I think Arsenal win comfortably 2-3-0.
Yeah, Arsenal won the -1 handicaps, 15-10. Arsenal to win over 2.5 goals is the same price. And I'm going to back Arsenal to score over 2.5 goals at 19-10. I think this is one-way traffic. They realise that they tossed it at Anfield. Anfield's a difficult place to go to, 2-0 up and cruising. We're lucky to get a point, but this is last chance saloon, and I agree with Gavin. West Ham, their eyes are on the Europa League conference tonight. They'll come in, start slow, and the game will be over by half-time. So Arsenal, to me, good things. Steve, Notts Forest, who have been on a bad run against Man United, without Rashford, play Thursday night. Could United drop points here?
It's a possibility. I mean, Forest don't lose many at home. I mean, we know they lost to Newcastle, but otherwise, they've been picking points up at home. But they need it. They're found themselves in the bottom 3 now, and without a win in 9, it is. I think that United will get something. I'd be surprised if Forest beat them. I think United would have to play pretty poorly to lose there. I thought United played really well last weekend against Everton, but although they lost Rashford, the rest of they could have had a hatful. I think that the best Forest could do is maybe hold them and hope that United have a bit of a Thursday night hangover. But otherwise, if United sort of reproduce any of that form they did last week, I think that United will go there and get a result. And Forest are obviously panicking a bit. They've just sacked their sporting director, which is a bit of a strange time to do it, because he wasn't involved in the summer buying spree. He bought a few players in January, but just seemed a bit odd to do that. But Steve Cooper's under a huge amount of pressure. The chairman has basically gave him, I wouldn't say the support. He basically said results have to improve immediately, but they didn't at Forest. So I'm not sure they will again on Sunday.
You have 6-10 United?
Yeah, but it looks like a very good bet, 6-10 with United. But without a striker, we just seem to battle. And when you're on the road again, we just don't put enough passes together and create enough chances. I do not like Martial. I think he's a poor striker. For the amount of money we spent on him, he hasn't developed. He's come back from injury. He's definitely going to be playing tonight, but come the weekend, he's not my favourite player, I've got to be honest. But, looking at the pedigree of United versus Forest, Forest, one team desperate in relegation, need the result. United are going to have to step it up. It's going to be another one of those games where Forest will bring the game to them. Yeah. So on pedigree, you would think United would win it.
Yeah, United are a hard watch at the moment. Watching the last week against Everton was the best we played. Could have been 4 or 5 up at half time, but this is a game we have to win. This is a difficult game. Notts Forest, desperation. We saw what they did to Liverpool. They beat them. They drew 1-1 with Man City. Newcastle got a last-minute penalty. This isn't a cakewalk. I know 6-10 is inviting, but it's not for me. Monday night, Steve, a great game. Massive rivalry between these clubs from the 60s, 70s, right the way through. Leeds, Liverpool. How do you see it going?
Well, look, I mean, Leeds will have to play a huge amount better than they did in that second half performance, because otherwise, Liverpool could cut through them. And I thought Liverpool in the second half against Arsenal was superb, and could well have won it. I think if Leeds play as they did against Palace in the second half, and Liverpool play anything like they did in the second half against Arsenal, you'd expect nothing other than an away win. It's a huge game for both teams, particularly for Leeds at the bottom. Having sort of scrapped and got a couple of wins recently, that was a bad result for them, and it really hurt their goal difference as well. But I think Liverpool should be too strong, and I'd be very surprised if it's anything other than an away win.
They like backing Liverpool, Gav. What do you think?
Yeah, Liverpool best bet of the weekend, Budge. Them and Arsenal, take the double. I think fill your boots. Can't see Liverpool missing. On the performance of Leeds last week, it looked like their season had already run. They were finished. They were out on their feet, giving the ball away so many times. You're conceding so many goals in a game. It just takes the confidence away from players. And Liverpool thinking they should have won the game against Arsenal. They missed the penalty. Otherwise, they would have beaten Arsenal. So I can't see Liverpool get beat. So 7 to 10 for me, great bet.
Monday night, 7 to 10. I agree. You've got to fancy Liverpool. I back Salah to be scorer 2 to 1 on Sunday. I don't think he'll be as close. If he's 15 to 10, I'll be diving in Monday night. I think Liverpool will win. Also, I think Thiago coming back is a massive plus. He's a playmaker. And Leeds, you can't defend like you did against Crystal Palace, against Liverpool. And hate to say it, but I think Liverpool, good things. Steve, on to the Championship, where my boys are giving me hope, Preston. But the first game we get up is Middlesbrough, Norwich City. How do you see it going?
Yeah, big game. I mean, Middlesbrough have fallen away a little bit, and it's now looking that automatic promotion has pretty much gone for them. But I think at home they're still going to be favourites. Norwich are really sort of huffing and puffing, but they just can't seem to sort of get into that sort of playoff spot, keep it. I still fancy Middlesbrough to edge that. Yeah,
I watched them against Burnley. They're a little bit unlucky, but I backed them against Bristol City on Monday, and they were... only by the last half an hour they came into it. I think they've shot their bolt, Steve. I think not being automatic contenders could play on them. I think Carrick may rotate. I think Norwich can get something out of this game. Maybe not a victory, but I think they can get a draw. As much as I hope they don't, because Preston are just behind them in the league. I think Norwich, I think they can get something here. That victory at Blackburn was a good result. And I think this will be a tight game, Steve. 5-2 the draw for me. Are Sheffield United good things to beat Cardiff?
Yeah, they should be. I mean, they just got themselves back in. Obviously, unlucky at Burnley with the sending off, but they got themselves back sort of clear at the moment in second place with the game in hand. I think they'll want to capitalise on that. Although Cardiff have, they've sort of huffed and puffed a little bit. The last couple of games have not been good for them. I think that. I think Sheffield United should be too strong. Yeah,
they should be. But Cardiff won't make it easy. The Lancashire Derby, Blackpool, Wigan, relegation battle, Steve. I think they got the betting the wrong way round. How do you see it going there?
Yeah, I mean, look, Wigan are finding it pretty difficult at the moment. And, I think both of these teams could well cancel themselves out, and they're both, adrift at the bottom. Blackpool have to win, of the two. They've got, the better of the chance of staying up, but they'd have to win. I think Wigan are just starting to find themselves just a few too many points behind. Yeah, Wigan have been competitive against good teams late, Steve. I don't see Wigan losing. The only problem is they both got to go for it. So it was 9 to 10, both teams to score. So that would be my prediction there. But of the two teams, or what I've seen recently, I think Wigan have shown better form, but last chance saloon for both teams, so it could be either way. Steve, I can't believe my team are 34 to 10 at Millwall. Even though Millwall are hard to beat at the Den, I think the bet, Preston should be a lot shorter. How do you see it? No, absolutely. In fact, I was looking, in the last 6 games, Preston are top of the form table, 5 wins out of 6. And Millwall have stuttered a little bit. They're still hanging on in there, but they are strong at home. We know that, and they're hard to beat. But I think Preston will give them a good game, and actually, they are really in with a great shout of making the playoffs at the moment, based on current form. So I think, I think it's going to be much closer than the betting shows. Yeah, my mate was at the QPR Preston game on the weekend, and he walked out early. He said Preston were all over them. QPR were disappointing.
And the only 2 games we've lost, I think it's in the last 13, were to Middlesbrough and Burnley. So the top teams are way ahead of us, but it's a close game. I think we can get a point, Steve. I'd take a point. I don't think we can win at the Den, but Millwall have fallen away of late, so, you know, we live in hope. QPR Coventry, Steve. I'm all over Coventry here, but what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, QPR got a good result, surprising result, sort of two down early at West Brom.
Yeah.
And it was a big point for them because they were at one point with Reading holding
Preston,
your boys. I mean, they found themselves in the bottom 3. You know, but Coventry have, again, Coventry, they were one of those teams we thought were going to make a late push for the playoffs, but they've fallen away. I think that they will make it tough, and I wouldn't be surprised if Coventry at least hold them. And I think, you know, still QPR have only 1 win in 17. I think Coventry should certainly not fear them, and I think they'll get something there.
Yeah, I fancy Coventry unbeaten and 6 away from home, and yeah, really difficult to beat. QPR lost 5 of the last 6 at home, and, you know, barring that 2-2 draw at West Brom, they've been poor. So I fancy Coventry of the 2 teams. With Reading sacking their manager, Paul Ince, 6-10 Burnley, Steve, looks a good thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, on paper, you know, Burnley should walk this. You know, they only need a few more points to actually clinch the title, and I think that they'll go for it. And I think this is a really tough game for Reading. You know, strange time to be again sacking your manager with only 6 games to go, but they've obviously feel they've got to do something sort of desperate. Those 6 points have really hurt them, and but I can't see them getting anything against Burnley on the weekend.
Yeah. Burnley beat Middlesbrough and Sheffield United, so you think they would struggle not to beat Reading. Next game, Steve, it's a tough game. Rotherham Luton. Luton don't get beat too often. You think they'll avoid defeat again?
Yeah, I think they will. I think for me, they'll start as favourites. They're you know, sitting pretty in 3rd place in you know, and they've certainly cemented. You know, they obviously look at it and think, look, automatic's not out of the question, but I think they want to finish 3rd and cement their place in the playoffs.
Yes.
I think they'll start as favourites.
As I said, Rotherham, you just never know. They've only lost 1 of the last 4 at home. That was to Preston. They'd won the other 3, but I agree. You know, Luton, 6 wins of the last 9, hard to beat. So 9-10 is a bit short, Steve, but of the 2 teams, you've got to fancy them. Steve, I'm giving Stoke City one last chance. They cost me last week when they got beat by Bristol City at home. West Brom away from home have been woeful. You know, they've cost me at home. I'm all over Stoke City here, Steve. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean, Stoke have played a lot better in recent weeks, and I was surprised they didn't win that. I think that they will go one better. I think Stoke will win. West Brom have fallen away. They've just, you know, when they were having that big push, I think people thought from bottom to close to the playoffs, but they've really fallen away now. And I think that Stoke should start as favourites. Yeah,
I'm all over Stoke, 13-10 for me. On to our last page in the Championship, and it's Sunderland-Birmingham. Steve, that 4-4 draw with Hull City was as good a game as I've watched this year. I think there's goals in this as well, but I think Sunderland may just edge it. How do you see it going?
Yeah, I mean, that really was on paper you didn't think that was going to be the best game, but actually it was a superb game, sort of end-to-end and the lead changing hands. Birmingham have actually quietly a bit of a run, sort of 3 wins and two draws in their last 6. I think they'll be hard to beat, but I think Sunderland probably should just start as favourites. Yeah,
not a good young player, Sunderland. Goals certainty. Steve, 7-10 Swansea against Huddersfield Town, who you tipped last week at 4-1 to win. This betting should surely be a lot closer.
Yeah, I mean, Swansea have had a couple of decent results recently. Huddersfield have really been pulled themselves up, and you know, they probably find themselves, you know, in a position a few weeks ago they could only dream of. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they go there and hold them, but I think Swansea will start as favourites. Yeah, I think there'll be a few goals in that too. It wouldn't surprise me if Neil Warnock comes with another relegation escape. Steve, on to the last 2 games. Your brother's team, Watford, as he said, they were woeful last week against Huddersfield, but they cost me money when they drew 2-2 at Coventry on Monday. How do you see them going against Bristol City? Yeah, I think this won't be an easy game. I mean, Bristol City, you know, they're not going up, they're not going down. You know, they've got some good young players that big clubs are looking at, and I think they'll be hard to beat. Watford, this is pretty much last chance saloon for them, I think. If they don't win this, they really are going to be too far adrift. I think they should start as favourites, but I can see Bristol holding them though. Yeah,
I think there'll be goals in that particular clash. And last but not least, I'm surprised it's Saturday night. Blackburn against Hull City. There'll be goals in this, there has to be, especially the way Hull City play. But can Blackburn cement their promotion playoff place?
They slipped up against Norwich at home recently. Yeah. I think that that's disappointing because they were in good position, but they want to cement, as you say, they want to cement their playoff place. So I think they will start as favourites.
So you're all over Blackburn. All right, Steve. Pressure time again. I need your best bet and value bet, please.
Yeah. Tricky one this week. I'm going to go for Middlesbrough. I think they're going to come back strong at home. Okay. Norwich are in and out, but I think Middlesbrough will score the goals. Okay. And my value bet, I was tempted to go with your boys. I think that's a good price, but I'm going to go for Crystal Palace. I just really like the way they played in the second half. Very direct and clinical, and I think Southampton, what you said was right. They'll throw everything at Palace. Yeah. But Palace, I think, will weather the storm, and then they'll take over and score the goals in the second half.
Yeah. No, I can see that coming. I just think Southampton may grab one early, and that could set the cat amongst the pigeons. But Roy Hodgson's too experienced, he knows, and the form they've been in Palace, especially attacking in the last 2 games, totally agree with your selection. Yeah. Steve, have a great weekend, and are you going with Paul to watch Spurs on the weekend?
No. I'll be glued to the box to see how we're getting on at Everton. But I think there's definitely going to be goals at Tottenham. But I think Bournemouth might. I don't think they'll spoil the party, but I think they'll gate crash it a bit.
Okay, Steve. Thanks as always. Speak to you over the weekend.
Cheers.
Take care.
Yeah. Bye, Gav.
Cheers.
Yep. Gav, there were 2 PSL games last night. Golden Arrows won, Sundowns won. It was on the TV. I did watch a bit of it. Arrows scored early, but Sundowns looked in cruise mode, and but deserved a point to the end, Arrows.
Yeah, total cruise control for Sundowns. League's over. They're blooding a few youngsters. I see they had a 16-year-old they brought on yesterday. So they've got time and they can develop. They've got the money in the club. Everything's going forward for them. Yeah. The owner's put a lot of money into Sundowns and he's reaping the rewards. Yeah. They'll continue to dominate SA soccer for years to come.
Yeah, until they put a clause in where you can only have 22 in the squad instead of 32 and one-way traffic. And then Maruma Gallants, Gav, I told you I had to back them yesterday.
Budgie took the whole world yesterday, Maruma Gallants.
Pity it wasn't on.
They've come good. They're scoring goals again. Yeah. Chipper, poor side. They have to travel. I don't think they're the best travellers in the league. But a good win for Maruma Gallants. Yeah,
Chipper fired their manager, Curtin Lakey's in the week. I just can't believe. I want them out. I can't have a manager and owner. I know it's his club, but every 2 minutes somebody gets fired. Oh, it's terrible. I think they've had 5 this year already. Gavis, Nedbank quarter-final time. And the first game up is Dondal Stars against Orlando Pirates. Dondal, I couldn't believe it. They knocked out Supersport United. Gavin made changes and they beat them. They knocked out Amazulu. I watched it on penalties. Can they upset Pirates?
I don't know who Dondal Stars are.
They're playing the Motsepe
down the league.
No, they're top of the Motsepe.
Pirates have come good the last couple of weeks and scoring goals freely. So I think Pirates will win the game. But, you go through the rounds knocking off some of the big boys, you've got to give them the respect. Yeah. Depends on the state of the pitch that they're going to play on as well. So
they're playing in Polokwane, yeah.
So if it's a good pitch, I think Pirates will dominate. But these boys will give a full go, I'm sure.
Yeah, as long as they defend well, they'll keep a chance, Dondal. I like Pirates. I've been on them the last few games. They're scoring more goals than they used to. It's got to be 1-6 is not my price, but got to be Pirates. So next game worries me. Stellenbosch in a bit of a roll, especially at home. They've only lost 1-6. Sundowns, Gav, they have taken the foot off the hammer. Champions League the CAF is obviously their main aim. This is one of them. They've drawn 4 of the last 5 league games, the last 3 away from home. Could this be the upset?
No, I don't think so. I think Sundowns should be rested a few of those players. They'll step it up for a game like this, wanting to win another trophy. There's big money involved in these cup competitions for them, so the players are reaping the rewards. I think he'll put out a strong side to win this game. But it's always a difficult game to Stellenbosch. They'll be waiting. The boys down there have got the legs, they're chasing, and hopefully the weather's good. If it's nice and wet and rainy, Stellenbosch will win with a chance. But I think Sundowns too strong.
Steve Barker have a plan, but you've got to agree. CAF, Sundowns, one of the best teams in Africa, regardless of where they play, good enough. They should win, but price is a bit short for me. Now, Chippa United, Sekhukhune United. I'm with the Sekhukhune United. I just think there's trouble in that Chippa can. They now get drawn into the relegation battle after losing to Maruma Gallants last night. The game is at their home ground in PE. It will be tight, Gav. I would back Sekhukhune to go through. I think I saw 8 to 10 for them to go through. But a 90-minute bet, the draw?
The draw looks like the money bet here. Some of these teams, Sekhukhune, the travelling doesn't seem to worry them. They just want to get out there and have a good game of football. And I think that's the secret with some of these teams. But Chippa, just a roller coaster of managers coming and going. Players don't know which formation they're going to play in. Even if you're going to be playing on the weekend, that's how bad it is with those guys. So, I mean, I'm leaning towards the draw. Two poor teams, I think. Draw 2-1 looks like good value.
All right. Now, Royal AM at Chatsworth Stadium have got a good record. They don't get beat there too often. They're unbeaten in 6. Now, we know Chiefs. Every time, I think it's the last 5 games, I mentioned it last week, the last 4 games, the opposition had a player sent off. It was like the old days. But 11-10 to beat Royal AM. This will be a good game, Gav.
Yeah, good game. Nice big park at the stadium up in Chatsworth.
Yeah.
Chiefs coming to town, big crowd. Royal AM will be waiting. I think they're not a bad side. But Chiefs, for me, every time I seem to have a go at them, they seem to lose or drop points along the way. Cup competition, they've got the pedigree in cup competitions for a number of years.
Yeah.
But this is going to be a good game. If it's going to be a winner here, it's going to be by 1 goal. I don't think there'll be many goals in this game.
Okay, it's under 2.5 goals. Well, that's the norm with our PSL. Anything is Chiefs. The last time they got beat was by AmaZulu. They've won 6 of the last 8 away games, but it's AmaZulu that beat them 4-0. You never know. I'm going to be taking, I think it's 12-10 both teams to score. I like having a bet just to watch. Of the 2 teams, I don't know. I've got a funny feeling Royal AM can upset them, Gav, but this will be a good game. On to our soccer exotics for the weekend, and our score 6, our KZN bet. I've gone Newcastle United win and draw against Aston Villa. I've gone Brighton win and draw at Chelsea. I've banked Everton to beat Fulham. The field in the Southampton Crystal Palace game. I think Tottenham Hotspur will be too good for Bournemouth. And I'm going field in the Wolves versus Brentford fixture, 2-1-6. On to our other soccer 6, I'm going Everton win and draw against Fulham. The field in the Southampton versus Crystal Palace clash. I think Tottenham will beat Bournemouth. Likewise, a field in the Brentford game. I don't see Sundowns losing at Stellenbosch. It could go to extra time, and I think Man City will be too good for Leicester. Also 216 Rand. On to our score 10 for the weekend. I'm going Newcastle win and draw at Aston Villa. Sheffield United win and draw at home against Cardiff. I'm banking Bayern Munich to beat Hoffenheim. I don't think Brighton Hove Albion will lose at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea. I'm all over Everton to be too strong for Fulham. Onto the second page, the field in the Southampton versus Crystal Palace match. I think Tottenham Hotspur will beat Bournemouth. Also the field in the Wolves versus Brentford game. I think Stoke City will avoid defeat at home against West Brom. And I think Man City, obvious bankers against Leicester, 288. Onto the soccer 13. Well, I've had to take a few chances because it's always tricky. I'm banking Man City to beat Leicester, Brighton to beat Chelsea, Everton to beat Fulham, Tottenham to beat Bournemouth, Crystal Palace to avoid defeat at Southampton, as well as Brentford. I think they can avoid defeat at Wolves. I hate to say it, but I don't see my Preston North End boys wing it at Millwall, so Millwall win and draw at home. Onto the second page, I'm banking Coventry City to win at Queen's Park Rangers, Luton Town to avoid defeat at Rotherham United. I don't see Sunderland losing at home to Birmingham City. I'm chancing Stoke City to get their form back to beat West Brom at home. Huddersfield at an upset, win and draw at Swansea City, and I'm siding with Watford, win and draw at home against Bristol City, 256. On to our Budgies bets for the weekend. I'm going Brighton to beat Brighton to beat Chelsea, apologies. Everton to beat Fulham, and Arsenal to beat West Ham, and over 2.5 total goals, 2,500 to 200. My team goals only sides are Aston Villa, Everton, Tottenham Hotspur, and Arsenal, all to score over 1.5 goals, 3,000 to 200. On to the championship, where I'm going Coventry City to beat QPR, Stoke City to beat West Brom, and I'm going Norwich City and Wigan Athletic, handicap plus 1 goal. That's like the double chance. Norwich City and Wigan both to avoid defeat, 3,100 to 200. Both teams to score sides are Blackpool, Wigan, Sunderland, Birmingham City, Watford, Bristol City and Blackburn, Hull City, 2,600 to 200. On to Spain, where I'm going my bet of the weekend. Real Betis to beat Espanyol, Celta Vigo to beat Mallorca, and both teams to score in the Athletic Bilbao Real Sociedad and Cadiz Real Madrid fixtures, 2,500 to 200. And our Collis King 6 or Nixer, I'm going Man City to beat Leicester, Arsenal to beat Everton, Burnley to beat Reading, Torino to beat Salernitano, Atletico Madrid to beat Almeria, and Celta Vigo to beat Mallorca, 2,300 to 200. Gav, you've never been shy to have a bet. Who you on?
But I'm playing it safe this weekend. Well, I think it's going to be safe. I'm going with Arsenal and Liverpool. I think they're both absolute sitters. Yeah. 7 to 10, 6 to 10. They usually get around about 15 to 10 to double. Should be a nice double for the boys for the weekend. Okay,
emptying out. And Chiefs in the
Chiefs, I'd rather go with the Pirates to score over 2.5 goals.
Okay.
And I like value bet for Crystal Palace and Blackburn to win.
All right. Guys, thank you very much for listening to our Onside Soccer Show, and please remember, stay onside.